Hundreds of thousands of Native Americans already called Florida home when Europeans arrived in the 1500s. The Timucuans were the Native Americans of northeast Florida and southeast Georgia that spoke the same language. Even though they all spoke the same language, the Timucuans had many different dialects. Despite the many dialects, the Timucuans had one thing in common: they were all experts at living off the land. The Timucua Indians relied on the environment to supply everything they needed to survive. They knew which plants to use as food, medicine, and which plants to use for clothes. They even used natural materials to build their homes, tools, and transportation. The Timucua were both hunters and farmers. Daily life was closely tied to the rivers, creeks, and marshlands, where fishing was easy. Many villages were not more than 2 miles away from water. Along the river were huge schools of fish, herds of manatees, and many waterfowl. Timucuan men made tools from hunting and fishing. They used spears, traps, hooks, and nets to kill their game. The Timucua hunted bear, wild turkey, and alligators for food and clothing. They also ate fish, clams, and oysters, and piled the shells into large heaps called middens, which are still here today. The Timucuan men had a special way of hunting deer, by hiding under a whole deer hide, with the fur, antlers, and legs still attached. Then they quietly approached the deer in disguise. When they got close enough, they would shoot the deer with arrows. They hunted alligator by sticking a pole in the alligator's mouth. When his teeth crunched into the pole, his mouth got stuck. Then they could turn the pole over and the alligator would get flipped too. The Timucua could spear him on his softer belly. During the winter and spring seasons, men provided the main source of food for the community through hunting and fishing. Women provided much of the food for the remaining seasons. Women were responsible for preparing and growing foods such as corn, beans, squash, and other vegetables. They also gathered foods that grew wild, such as blackberries, grapes, peas, acorns from oak trees, hickory nuts, dandelions, mushrooms, and plant roots. The women cooked the meals and cleaned, and prepared the animal hides for clothing. The women also made pottery for use in cooking. The Timucua wore clothing made from Spanish moss, animal skins, and woven cloths. The men wore their hair long and tied up. It was a place to hide their weapons during battle. Women wore their hair long and straight down their backs. Both men and women had tattoos, and children could start getting tattoos as they grew up and showed they were brave and responsible. Most activities were done outside the hut, since these huts averaged only 25 feet in diameter and possibly housed extended families. Outside, you had the sunshine, the breeze, and plenty of workspace. Many of these round huts built together formed a Timucuan village. Today, when you visit the Timucuan Preserve, you will no longer find the Timucuan villages that once dotted the landscape. However, if you take a trip to Fort Caroline National Memorial or visit the Ribault Club Cultural State Park, you'll learn more about these experts at living off the land.